Welcome to Ethos Effect Podcast.
Welcome to the Ethos Effect Podcast. After building and learning from failures,
We discovered our ethos and leveraged it
to scale, sell, and build again our seven-figure businesses.
whether you're starting out or leveling up.
This podcast is your source for innovation and lasting impact. And I went to them and I asked for a raise. I was making about $30,000 and I asked for $33,000. And here's my business plan on how I'm going to raise all this money for you next year and blah, blah, blah. And they said, we can't do the raise, but we will send you a bonus. I'm like, cool. So I wait and I wait and I wait. And then eventually I ask again and say, hey, just wondering about that bonus. And they go, oh yeah, it's in the mail. It's going to come next week. Well, it shows up. And it was $10, signed by the CEO of the company. And I remember that moment like, what? Why would you even, it probably costs more to send me this than what it's actually worth,
My guest today is Chelsea Ryckis. She is founder and president of Ethos Benefits, an award-winning employee benefits consulting firm based out of Florida, doing work primarily for larger companies, 500 employees or greater across the country. Now, Chelsea is originally from Canada. So how in the world did she become an award-winning employee benefits consultant here in the States? Well, that's part of our conversation today. It's a fascinating journey. And I just want to applaud Chelsea for the work that she's doing in this space that I'm part of and how open she is in sharing the strategies that result in happy healthcare stories. You can see the passion firsthand in this conversation. And she is pushing the envelope in a variety of ways, which you can appreciate based on her background and her tenacity. So enjoy this conversation with my new friend, Chelsea. Welcome to the Happy Healthcare Stories podcast, where industry thought leaders share their strategies of transforming expensive, ineffective healthcare into positive and happy experiences. I'm your host, Justin Thomas, an employee benefits consultant, board-certified health coach, and CEO of Bull Benefits. There's enough bad news when it comes to healthcare, and it's my privilege to bring happy healthcare stories of how companies are offering amazing benefits without going bankrupt. Let's get started. All right, we're live. Chelsea, cheers. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So we're just getting to know each other. And the reason I found out about you is that you were just nominated and won the 2024 Consultant/Broker of the Year award. So congratulations, and take us to the moment when you found out that you were the winner.
Oh man, when it's funny. So the award was through Benefits Pro. There were 5 finalists, and I'm sitting on stage, and I did not think there was a chance that I was going to win. So as it got, because there were just so many amazing people, and that's what happens with these awards, right? Like these people are absolutely incredible, and then you look at them and you're like, well, I've done some cool stuff, but man, they've done some really cool stuff. You kind of get that imposter syndrome. So I think for me, it was very surprising. Obviously, I was very humbled by it, but the moment was very full circle. And I'll share just a quick story. So I started in the industry in 2017, late 2017. I ended up partnering with my business partner, Donovan, and the first conference we went to was Benefits Pro. And I sat in the audience and I watched them announce the Broker of the Year. There were 5 finalists on the stage. And I just remember feeling, we were at this point about 18 months into building our business, and I felt this big. I was like, man, those people are actually like changing lives and saving lives through this health insurance avenue. And I have no idea how they're doing it, but I know I want to do it and I want to be them. And I leaned over to Donovan, who was just my business partner at the time, now my husband, and said, that's going to be us. Like, we're going to be on that stage. So for that to come full circle was pretty amazing, because I feel like it's less about the award and just more about the voice that you have to share stories like you do on this podcast. So,
Well, congratulations again. And
thank you.
so obviously you're doing good work and it's recognized in the industry. And so as you reflected on from, sitting in that arena as a participant, seeing it when you first started 18 months into the business and then winning the award, what are a couple happy healthcare stories, like things that you have been able to do through your consulting work that stand out to you? Riff on that a little bit. I'd love to hear.
Oh, there's so many, but I think the most impactful ones are the ones where we're able to give employees either free surgeries or free specialty meds and access to a quality of care that they haven't gotten before. So a recent example actually is we have a client, they're about 300 or 400 employees in more of a rural area, manufacturing, and they had a very traditional health plan for a long time, right? They had a Blue Cross Blue Shield health plan. And when we came in, they were very used to getting double-digit increases every year. So employees are paying more and more. The company subsidizes as much as they can. They care a lot about their employees, but ultimately some of that cost has to be shifted to the employees as well when you're facing these double-digit increases year after year. So when we came in, we implemented a program that actually saved them almost 30%. So not only were deductions lower, but the coolest part about the program, and this is where the happy healthcare story comes in, is employees can receive care, specifically surgeries, cancer treatment, specialty medication at no cost. So this specific situation that I'll share with you today, the employee is a female and she's pregnant and she wanted to have her delivery done at this certain hospital. Well, the hospital wanted about $80,000 to deliver the baby, and that was very expensive. So we found another place where she could deliver the baby with the exact same doctor. And because she took that redirect and it's just a different hospital, she was able to get that delivery for free, a child delivery for free, as opposed to paying the coinsurance, right, for an inpatient hospitalization on a $3,000 deductible plan. She guaranteed would have hit that $3,000 deductible. But just by same doctor, different hospital, she was able to save the $3,000 and deliver her child for free, which was very impactful for her family.
I love that. What a great, story. And it doesn't always have to be this, crisis situation where you're in the hospital in the emergency room. It's like, hey, I'm pregnant and let's have a great delivery. And the same doctor going to a different facility, going from 3,000 out of pocket to nothing. I bet that made her day, made her month, made the year.
Well, and so on that same kind of talk path, same company, actually, that's interesting. We had a employee that was bit by a spider and his finger had swelled up really bad and he ended up needing a skin graft. It was pretty serious. And the first place he went, the hospital and the physician, they had charged $80,000 for a skin graft. We were able to have him go to a different facility for the exact same skin graft with the same doctor. So same exact situation, same procedure, same doctor, just go to a different place, not too much further down the road. And that went down to, I want to say it was like 16,000. Just
Wow.
significant, right? And if you're paying, either way, he was going to hit his deductible on that. But for the health plan, that ultimately is going to save the employees money the following year, right? So it's all about controlling the cost of claims. And I think that's where, people kind of get a little bit confused. They just assume, well, if I'm paying more for my healthcare, I must be getting a better quality, right? And if I'm paying $80,000, it must be better than the place where I'd pay $16,000. But that's not true in healthcare, right? And I think a lot of what you're doing is hopefully educating people on that exactly.
These are great. And so then I also see that you have a documentary coming out. And so tell us about that.
You got it. So the documentary is called It's Not Personal, It's Just Healthcare. And we produced it along with some other producers and essentially brought together a team of experts. And these experts include whistleblowers who've worked at massive insurance carriers, attorneys, pharmacy benefit manager owners, surgery center owners, ex-hospital CEOs, and former brokers from large publicly traded brokers that managed massive books of business. And essentially what the documentary does is it peels back the curtain on the inner workings of health insurance for employers. And the thing is, it's all about this big lie. And, you say big lie and people are like, oh, that's conspiracy theory. Like, that's too much for me. But the truth is, employers have been taught that there's nothing they can do to control the cost of their healthcare. And it just is what it is, but that's not the case. And unfortunately, the way the system is designed, all of the pieces of the puzzle are profiting off of the employer believing this to be true and just maintaining the status quo. And as we've shown with these stories today, when you start to think differently about healthcare and maybe the status quo isn't working, right? Like if my premiums are going up every single year, my employees aren't happy, they've got high out of pocket, they have no idea where they could go for a service, what it's going to cost. Maybe it's time to start thinking a little bit differently and actually getting to the root cause of the problem. And that's what this documentary will teach employers to do, essentially.
What a fun project. So,
It's so
uh,
cool.
yeah, and so in addition to the documentary, I know you guys have your own podcast with Ethos Benefits, and I watched the one where your husband and business partner interviewed you about your story. And so I know you shared this before, but tell us about the framed check that you have behind your desk. That's
Sure.
just such a great story.
I know. We just moved. Otherwise, I'd be in my home office with the check and I could show it to you, but
Yeah.
it hasn't been hung up yet. But the story is pretty good. So I'll start a little bit earlier. I had a brain injury in college. That was actually my first interaction with the American healthcare system. And that's when I realized I don't know I was 22. I don't know what a deductible is. Why am I getting all these expenses? What the heck is an EOB? Like, I have no idea how to navigate this. I had nobody to help me. That's what spurred this sort of motivation to figure it out and help people during their time of need. Well, I was supposed to go to medical school and couldn't. So I ended up working in nonprofit thinking, you know what, I'll save the world this way. I was a fundraiser and I'd been there for over a year. I broke a fundraising record. I had a business plan on how to do it again the following year. And I went to them and I asked for a raise. I was making about 30,000 and I asked for 33,000. And here's my business plan on how I'm going to raise all this money for you next year and blah, blah, blah. And they said, you know, we can't do the raise, but we will send you a bonus. I'm like, cool. So I wait and I wait and I wait. And then eventually I ask again and say, hey, just wondered about that bonus. And they go, oh, yeah, it's in the mail. It's going to come next week. Well, it shows up and it was $10 signed by the CEO of the company. And I remember that moment like, what? Why would you even, it probably cost more to send me this than what it's actually worth, you know? Justin, it was such a moment of like, wow, what am I doing? And I just never want anybody to tell me my worth again, essentially. So that's when I ended up just taking the leap to figure out a business of my own.
I hope that was a clerical error. It just boggles my mind. Like, why
It was supposed to be 1,000. It was 10.
Was there missing a couple of? Regardless, you turned it into a positive, and it benefited many others. Thankfully, they didn't give you a big raise because maybe you wouldn't be a benefit consultant and a leader now.
That's a really good way to look at it, you know? It definitely is a motivator too, like to just see it on the wall. And, you know, more than like even personal motivation, the way that it's really impacted my life is by teaching me how to treat others that I employ and really like how to be a better leader and the types of things that people on your team want and expect, but maybe they don't have the confidence to voice those things. So it really like put me on this journey of like, I will never employ people this way. Like I will never treat somebody this way. And I want to be a progressive, forward thinking, employer. And I think that actually has had a greater impact on my life in terms of bringing the right people into my team than just the pure motivation of like, no one's going to tell me what I'm worth again. It's really been like the catalyst of the leadership that's resulted from it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And so I saw the recent news that you guys actually divested some of your business with the smaller accounts. And that's a big decision to make as a business leader. So how's that going?
Good. So in September of 2023, we sold our small book of business. So for us, that's any company with under 100 insured employees. And the reason that we did it, it was funny because for years, we divided our business into we had a small business unit and a large business unit. And essentially, in the large business unit, we're able to do these really creative things that give employees free cancer treatments, free surgeries, free specialty medications, all these really impactful programs. But sometimes in the smaller market, you're not able to do those things. And you get really stuck in the status quo. We still operated as fiduciaries. We still disclosed our compensation. We got creative as we possibly could, but we constantly were coming up against just, this doesn't align with our values. We don't want to do business this way, and we have no other option in some cases. So that was the book of business that no longer aligned with our values that we sold, because ultimately they could get the exact same thing from anybody. And we wanted to be able to impact more American workers with the innovative, creative strategies that we could do up market. So we did part ways with that book of business in September of last year. And I'm really happy to say that we have almost replaced that revenue just because we're focused, we're fired up. The entire team is so engaged and just ready to go on transforming healthcare. And in this specific way that we're doing it, there's no distractions. So that alignment has just been absolutely incredible.
And I'm curious, I read this in another article that you referenced. You talked about replacing that business with a new business back in 2017. And tell me if this is right or wrong. What you read on the internet may not be correct. You had this moment where you just started your business with Donovan, merging them together. And he says, hey, I've got this great idea. We're going to go travel and hire a business coach. And this is going to make us business. So tell us about that moment and then how it compares with your recent growth.
What most people don't realize, I think, because I'm usually the face of all the things Ethos Benefits, is Donovan is really like the mastermind. He does not get enough credit. Truthfully, I 100% believe this. The accolades, the awards, the growth in our business was because of that specific decision that he made when we first started our company, that no matter how much money we have or don't have, we are going to educate ourselves. We are going to reinvest it. We're not going to pay ourselves. We're going to go to this conference. We're not going to, have nice cars. I literally drove, oh my gosh, a Pontiac G5 2009 that I had. My parents helped me buy when I went to college in the States. I drove that until I think 3 years ago. And I would park 2 blocks away from prospect meetings because I didn't want them to see the shitty car I was driving. And Donovan and I would wake up at 3 a.m. to drive from Orlando to Miami to meet with, groups with 5 employees, 10 employees, whatever. We were just building the business. We were just, we would go for voluntary benefits. Like, we were all in, and we would drive down to Miami in my crappy little car, and the AC was broke. So every time he turned a corner, it would spit water onto my feet. Oh. So I would try to figure out how to not have stinky feet going into these meetings. It was just, anyways, you just make sacrifices to invest in yourself. And I really think his decision to do that, despite me being like, maybe we should wait, maybe we shouldn't go, maybe, maybe we could do it online, maybe we could read books instead of getting coaches. His decision to be forceful about that was the most important thing we've ever done.
And so that's how you built the business the first time. And then the second time, was it a similar strategy with conferences, or was it, was the path different this time?
That's a really good question. So what was really cool about the sale of the small book of business was we did have a good chunk of large business that we retained, but the goal was obviously to replace the revenue of the small business. And, I think the biggest thing I've learned as an entrepreneur is the skill set that got me to this number or this size book of business that we ultimately ended up selling is not the same skill set that's going to help me replace it and continue to grow the agency over time. So yes, the coaching to take me from the leader that I was in September of last year to who I am today, very expensive, but very worth it. The books that I've read, you just have to continue to kind of scale yourself up. And something else that I think is really important is giving back as you learn more. And that's where the podcast has kind of come in. And I do a lot of mentorship for women. And I have a nonprofit for women that through the game of golf, try to help and grow their businesses. There's a big part is as you continue to hit these milestones in your life, you want to give that information back, because then it comes back to you, right? Just that kind of, mentorship and abundance mindset I'm really big on.
Well, congrats on the latest iterations of Ethos and the accolades with it as well. Another question I had was, there was I'll get this quote right. It was fill in the blank. It was Chelsea, fill in the blank. Key to success in this industry is to do what? I won't put you on the spot, but what you said at that time was the key to success in the employee benefit space was to, quote, find a way to be a master communicator. So would you answer that question differently now? Or if not, tell us a little bit more about that answer.
That's so funny you bring up that question, because one of the questions they asked us on the Advisor of the Year panel, or we didn't get to it, but one of the ones they were supposed to ask us was that exact question. If you had a crystal ball, what's the thing that's going to set an advisor apart? I believe I said that 5 years ago. I still believe it to be true. I truly believe, and especially as you are designing these more complex healthcare plans that can bring employees these incredible programs that actually change their lives, you need to be able to explain these concepts in a way that doesn't scare employers, right? That inspires them to take action, to believe that there really is a different way, just like the documentary shows, right? So yes, being a master communicator. Secondly, think about employees. You can have the most amazing programs. We literally have some clients right now talk about happy healthcare stories. They've got $500 deductible plans. They've got unlimited telemedicine, virtual primary care, urgent care, psychiatric services, unlimited, and they use it all the time. They've got copays on their ER, they've got copays on their imaging, copays on all of their prescriptions. They're getting prescriptions for free, cancer treatments for free, like rich benefits, right? And the thing is, if they don't know how to actually engage with their benefits to take advantage of those programs, nobody cares that they're there, right? Nobody cares. So you have to be able to communicate not only to employers to make them understand that they can have better healthcare at a better price, but most importantly is the employees, because they're the ones that we want using these incredible programs. So something that's been huge in my business is figuring out, how do we actually get the employees to engage with us, number one, and then number two, understand how do we use these programs. And we use a really cool text messaging system that is super modern, super engaging, that's allowed us to really like interface with them where they want to talk to us. And that's been a game changer.
Oh, that's great. And that's a way to communicate the benefits to the employees so that they're even able to take advantage of it. That's what you've seen, the benefit of doing that?
Yeah. And if we have time for one more happy healthcare story.
Please. Yeah.
Okay. We have a client, they've got employees all over the country, and we use like we do with all of our clients, the text messaging system. And it sends out proactive messages throughout the year, it sends out proactive messages to new hires, all the things. Well, this one employee actually texted us back, this was about 2 months ago, and said, hey, my employment is going to end at the end of the month. Like, when do my benefits end? And we looked at it, and instead of just saying, hey, your coverage ends on April 30th, we said, what's going on? Do you need to, we picked up the phone and had a conversation with them after they texted us. It turns out she was going through cancer treatment. So we were able to, she thought she was going to lose her medical. She didn't have to. She could easily get on Cobra. She didn't know she had a critical illness with a cancer rider where she could get $10,000 lump sum. And she had a short-term disability policy that we could file a disability claim for her. So by the time it was all said and done, she went from, when do my benefits end, thinking she's going through this cancer treatment and this horrible time in her life on her own, to getting $30,000 in her pocket, extending her medical coverage during the time she needed it most, all because of one text message. So yeah, it works. But you got to do it consistently. And there's a strategy to it, of course, like all things. But, employees being able to just text something super quick has really allowed for that engagement and kind of master communication piece, if you will.
Well, I'm sitting here thinking it's so refreshing to see the employee benefits industry with people like you and others who not only are doing things differently, challenging the status quo, but you guys are just very open with it. I know that's one of the values of Ethos, is like transparency. And like, here you are speaking now and speaking on stage and other podcasts, just saying like, hey, here is strategies and solutions. Yeah, like here's the playbook with it. And I think that only helps, earn more trust for you and your brand, and also to help elevate hopefully other people. Like, I'm based here in North Carolina. And so that's, it's just, there's so many bad plans out there that it's worth celebrating these plans that are doing these proactive features that you're mentioning.
And we're not competition. I think that's such a scarcity mindset to think that somebody in North Carolina, shouldn't possibly tell them about how to actively engage with employees because, oh no, healthcare might actually get better for people, right? Nice. But I think it's like twofold. Number one is giving back. A lot of people can't afford to go to conferences and things like that. And they're looking for these thought leaders in the industry. And if you're lucky enough to have a voice that people want to listen to, hell yeah, you need to share what you know. And don't hold back, because all we're going to do is, just like this documentary, all we're going to do is amplify this message to employers that, hey, you can not only control your healthcare, but you can give your employees way better quality care at a lower price. The more of us that are singing the same song, the more that employers will believe it. And it won't seem like this seems too good to be true. This seems too innovative. It's not. It's been around for freaking ever. It's just that nobody's telling you about it because they're profiting off of it, right? Mm-hmm. It'll just help the movement progress, in my opinion.
Before we finish this episode, I wanted to let you know that for a limited time, I will assess your company health plan for free. It's quick and easy. Just schedule a 30-minute call. you will get a comprehensive, independent assessment to measure and improve your health plan strategy. And you'll get a score out of 100 with actionable next steps on how to improve it. To take advantage of this offer, just go to bullbenefits.com/score. See how your health plan scores and ways to improve it. That's bullbenefits.com/score. Now back to the episode. One more question for you. This has been a delight,
Yeah.
Chelsea. Thank you very much. So if an MBA program came to you, like Harvard Business School, they said, hey, we want to do a case study on Ethos Benefits. And if they came to you, what moment do you think they might pick as a worthy one in your business venture thus far to say, hey, we want to highlight this for our business students so that they can become better leaders and know strategy. And, they embellish the stories. A lot of times they'll say, Chelsea was in her corner office contemplating, does she brand the company this or that? And she knew it was a big decision. And so we've already talked about some of the major moments, but is there another one that might be worthy of an MBA case study that you want to share with us?
Yes, I think that's such a cool question, the way that you posed it. We came to a crossroads in 2019 where I personally was very burnt out. Everything was just difficult, and like the mindset, that the morale was low, turnover was high. We were doing a lot of business. The volume was fine and the revenue was fine, but we just weren't like happy with the business that we had, and we weren't like proud of it, and we knew we could do better. And so much of it came down to, we knew what we were doing, but we didn't know how to communicate what we were doing to our team. And we were missing a values framework. So we hired a team, again, when I didn't think we had the money, we hired a team to come in and help us essentially rebrand our entire company. So we started out actually as Donovan Financial, which was my husband. He was a 401k advisor. I had a Colonial Life agency. And when we partnered, I didn't have the money, nor did he to rebrand anything. So we just started 50-50 in his current business. So Donovan Financial kind of sounds like a 401k company. It's a little confusing. So as time kind of went on, we're like, all right, we get to this crossroads where we're like, we want to do things differently. Like, what if we rebranded the company and got super clear on who we are, what we're doing, and why we're doing it? And when we did that, I'll tell you, it was a freaking painful process. Like going through, I actually really enjoy that kind of stuff. My husband, not so much, but getting super clear on you ask yourself a question. The question might be, why do you do what you do? And then you give an answer, and the team coaching us said, okay, well, why? And then you give another answer, and then they're like, well, why? And you're like, I just told you why. They're like, nope, that's not the reason. And it's so funny, like when you finally get to like that root of like, why do you do what you do? Who do you want to be? How do you want this value proposition to be portrayed to the world? Like, it seems like a simple thing, but it's not. So anyways, we paid a lot of money, rebranded to Ethos Benefits, got super clear on our values. And then I used that to restructure my entire hiring, talent acquisition, and talent retention process. And everything literally within our business on operations, infrastructure, all around these values. Every KPI we have, key performance indicator for every role in our agency, is around the values. Everything is around values. Client experience, around the values. That has been so freaking transformative. We've made that money back over and over and over again. And if anybody is listening to this and you have a business and you're like, we could probably be a little bit more clear on our values. And it's not just like the values are on the wall, right? And like, have integrity, be honest. Those aren't your values. Your values are the living, breathing culture of your company. And when your employees start kind of saying it back to you and they're using that verbiage, that's when you know you figured it out. But yeah, sorry, I know my answers have been a little bit long today. I'm super pumped up.
That's great. Well, maybe one day they'll have a chance to write that as a case study. Chelsea, if there's people that want to connect with you or learn more about you, where do you want to direct them?
LinkedIn, Chelsea Ryckis, Ryckis, or just Ethos Benefits LinkedIn. I really appreciate the opportunity to share these stories, Justin. I think what you're doing is truly amazing. And I think you yourself have a lot of thought leadership, and that we'll be seeing you on a lot of stages shortly.